Here we are. Welcome to Creating You in the Universe.
That's number 3 today.
This is our third time where Source has taken over, hit play on the recording, and we get right into it.
And it's not, before anyone says, it's not like we're like using our like Alexa or whatever's on our phone and be like, press recording now. We're not. We're literally having a conversation. I was literally like this, and all of a sudden she goes, okay.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Creating You in the Universe with Sandra and
Leah. We're your hosts today, and today we are starting our episode with an intention on today's podcast, which is headlining resistance. It's like, oh, what's resistance?
Well, what's funny about it is that we were just doing and seeing if we could do, if we have enough intuitively to come through, and Source decided to say that we did.
Yeah, come through for the podcast.
So we're talking about resistance. So it's kind of, we'll fumble and bumble, but the universe started us, so let's go.
Let's segment intent that fumble and bumble is gone. I segment intend that this podcast is smooth and full of laughter, and the perfect message will be delivered for all those who come across this podcast today.
Love it.
So is that our intention too?
That
segment
is our
intention. Okay, beautiful.
Yes. So we're segmenting the perfect podcast for you about resistance.
And if you want more information on segment intending, it's a podcast all on its own on Creating You in the Universe. So check it out because it's powerful stuff that will help. Okay, resistance. It's come up recently, this idea of resistance and it being a bad thing. And I've been there. You have your intuition and it says, whoa, stop. And that, for me, is really clear on highway situations where whatever reason you're getting resistance and you honor that resistance. Maybe it's simply just getting out the door. And it's only until after that moment of resistance that you realize, oh, it was actually saving me from a freak accident. And if I had left, who knows what would have happened, but it would be far more probable that I could be involved.
How about the circumstances where you were actually told to be resistant and you resist the resistance and therefore then get into an accident?
Yes, exactly.
Right? Does that make sense?
I don't know. I was a little lost.
So, meaning that you are actually being told, like the thing about like you're being
your
like,
intuition.
Your intuition is saying wait, and you're like, no, I gotta go right now.
Yeah, you're resisting
like
your intuition,
and the universe is even like pulling your pant loop and getting caught on doors and you do whatever it takes. No, I gotta leave right now, and then all of a sudden, boom. You were actually not listening to the actual message that was going through. You were resisting the information that was
the intuition, the message.
Right.
And other places I've seen this, why it spurred this conversation was people in their goals, their endeavors. This individual had a valid viewpoint. It's not to say they're wrong. This is just what it has inspired this conversation on the podcast is they've worked towards their goals, and anytime there's resistance to something, they take it as a sign and pull back. And so this is where the conversation specifically towards your goals, because at one point I might have agreed. And that's the beautiful thing about growth is that we're allowed to change our minds. It wasn't until, well, actually, I've worked many times with a partner in this field of things, such as energy work, the idea of co-creating some sort of healing modality, and resistance with these partners comes up. And it got to the point like, is this resisting so hard because I'm not supposed to do this? And inside my heart is screaming, no, keep going. But I'm experiencing their resistance. And so the story goes that Sandra and I get together. Well, we got together and she resisted for many years. But what happened was when we're finally working together, life switched upside down. And I thought, oh, here it comes, another resistance with a partner that I'm working with on my heart's desires and dreams. And their resistance in their life may add resistance to pursuing this project of passion together, but it did not. That resistance followed perseverance, followed staying true to that goal, that you staying in authenticity, that this is what I desire. But it took a lot of work. And it would be easy to interpret that work as resistance and give up, it's not the right time. But it's through Sandra's example that has, her being that change influenced me being that change. Because after about a year, we're in our second year now,
Mm-hmm.
it was my turn and resistance coming up over and over again. And it's so easy to interpret that as a sign to stop. And you only you know truly what's best for you, but in my own experience, when it comes to pursuing goals and persevering, there is an energetic, a universal law of energy in equals energy out. And I've taken it as my own sign from God or the universe as how bad do you desire this? Because wherever you're going, whether it's endeavors like Sandra and I or your own personal goals, often life is about the process, not the destination. We're not getting anywhere with the snap of our fingers. We have our soul and our spirit and those intuitive inklings that needs to integrate and come into physical form and travel through time to bring us these desires. And I get whole body goosebumps when I think of that. And had I or Sandra saw this as a sign to stop, we wouldn't have been helping the many, 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 many lives that we are helping now, sometimes in service and often through paying clients. We wouldn't have the program Being You in the Universe had we allowed our resistance in life to stop us from pursuing our goals.
Oftentimes, I've worked with clients as well that uh, face that resistance, and then they're like, every time that this happens, every time that I'm about to move forward, this happens. Every time I'm just about to break through, and then this happens. And they take it that, yeah, that resistance just knocks them back on their ass again. And I say, that's just the universe asking you how bad you want it. And I've heard you say that a couple times this year already. How bad do you want this? The difference between people who get and succeed and the people that are just dreamers is just the pushing through and continuing on going through the resistance. I remember at one point in time, I actually just recently was talking to my husband about something, and I said, I feel like I'm on the edge of a cliff. And then I'm like, do I go? Do I not? Because at one point in time, my mother had said that to me. You're standing on a cliff and you got 1 foot off and you got 1 foot on, and you got to make the decision to jump or to get back and walk back away from the cliff. That's your choice. So I was saying that same thing to my husband. And he says, and won't it be funny when you realize there was no cliff? And I was like, what the F are you? What are you talking about? It's like, when you get to that point, let me know. And then I started thinking about it, started thinking about it. So I pushed through and I did something really uncomfortable. It was one of my things I was doing or whatever, a video I made. And I realized that, oh my God, there was no cliff. It's just been an
It's an illusion.
illusion, right? And so it's just an illusion. The not wanting to do something because, oh, I might get in trouble or this or that or whatever resistance that you're feeling,
Or I can't afford it.
or I can't afford it or whatever. The resistance is, how bad do you want it? And the moment that you push through is your success.
It's like a gift. I think of resistance also. Resistance is, and how we're talking, how bad do you desire this? I think of you have to pull on a little rubber band, those little rubber band cars, that's resistance. But when it's let go and you work through the resistance, that's energy, that energy potential that you're pulling back on, that's the resistance, is your energy potential. When you release it, I mean,
Catapults.
it catapults. And so the release factor is my intuition of saying, walking over the illusionary cliff. And so when I say it could be financial, I've had times in my life where the one course that I took, spiritual healers course, it was a good, what did we say, 8 grand
I
investment,
think so.
5 grand.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had no idea how that was going to happen. And I just continued to sign up for the program. And at one point, I was gifted multiple I was gifted money multiple occasions because people believed in me and desired me to continue as well. But had I just saw the money as a resistance of, oh, how I can't, I'm not there yet, then I wouldn't have pushed through that resistance, and I don't even know where my life would be today because who I am before that is completely different in a sense, and the life that I live now. And so I'm thankful that although money was a resistance, pushing through that, having faith, there was no cliff. If I had known gone in the future that somebody would help me, multiple peoples would help me, then I would realize there's no cliff to walk over. It's just simply being. It's doing what you desire. It's having faith. It's working through the resistance.
So oftentimes, we did do a podcast about this as well. The universe speaks to you every single day of every single moment of every single life. You are literally, you are universe. The universe is, you are a reflection of it. And well, I could say that in a million different ways. But so when you're sitting there and you're wondering, is this resistance that I'm feeling, or is this, should I do it? Is there a sign? Just sit in silence and ask the question again. Should I do this? Should I move forward? And you'll feel the difference between the resistance, which is ego or fear, and the universe saying, don't do it. For me, if I'm not supposed to do something, it is very loud. The universe is very loud, but they only say it one time. They don't repeat it over and over. Like, you can ask and they'll answer, ask and answer, ask and answer, but they don't repeat it over and over. So if that's another thing for me personally, but I've spent a lot of time practicing how to interpret the universe and how to hear it. So if you're asking questions like, no, 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 that's ego. Because the universe is very, for me anyways, I don't know about your experience,
Succinct,
it's very
concise.
it's very concise, very direct. So if ever you're like, should I go do this, you'll hear it, but you have to be silent and be listening for it as well. So if there's resistance, oftentimes sit with that and say, is this just fear stopping me, or is this the universe? And if it is something that's going to protect your life or save your life, they will be very, like, you will get the catching of clothes, the thing that's just like, do not do this. And you just have to at this second say, you know what? I feel like I should pause right now. There's a reason. And the more you practice that, the more you'll understand that it's not really resistance. Either it's fear, or it's, yeah, it's just making you push through. And the harder, sorry, it's leaving.
Okay.
So, but the harder of the resistance, like I like what you were saying, the stronger the resistance, use that and say, ooh, this is going to be really good when I let go and like catapult it. Or the ball. Abraham Hicks says a lot, holding a ball or a cork under the water, like push, 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 and then it just, right? So use that resistance to catapult yourself. But understand and practice learning the difference between resistance and what is the universe trying to say, warnings or something like that.
There is a show I like to watch when life feels like it needs a reboot. It's called Creating You in the Universe.
We watch it ourselves. There's little messages, right?
Jokes aside, that's truth. But where I was actually going is Joe Dispenza. He has a show right now. It's on Gaia, which is like Netflix for metaphysical, and it's called Rewired. And when it comes to that, there are, like, mental health. You have in your mind wired patterns, and to step outside of that wired pattern, you will feel resistance because that wired pattern started and was initiated to bring a sense of peace or safety or some sort of reason that at the moment helped. And now it's there as a pattern. And when you break these patterns, when you work towards rewiring your brain, the first thing that's going to happen is like, ah, stop it. And you will feel resistance from making change because that's not what we're used to. And our body would like to keep, streamlined with what it knows. So while you're working through resistance, you're rewiring your brain. And when it's rewired and you push through the resistance, this is your new normal. Sorry,
No,
I made that face because I hate that phrase and how the
the new
world
normal.
changed the new normal.
Right.
But this is how it. This is when you desire a life, you will feel possible resistance as you work through that, as you go through the trenches, as you do the work that feels a little uncomfortable or even resistance.
Mhm.
That resistance, there's an aha moment. There's a lifting of stuff that used to feel like resistance that now is just life. It's beautiful.
Motivation.
It's everything you desired.
Mhm.
Where it's like getting out of bed. If you're having depression as an example, what your pattern and wired brain might do, in my instance, lay in bed, eat lots of food, repeats, disconnects, that kind of stuff. And to take myself out of those patterns, I feel resistance. It's way more comfortable eating all my emotions to work through that. I'll feel resistance stopping myself from grabbing the junk. But as I work through that, there it gets easier every day. That's really the gist of what I'm saying here is resistance can feel awkward. It can feel like a sign to stop. But let's just do the quote devil's advocates. What if you work through the resistance? What would happen then? What if what you've been doing for your 50 years of life you've been describing as intuition and your soul self when really it was opportunities of the universal law energy in equals energy out. These are just questions to ask yourself as a state of reflection. I'm not here trying to tell you you're wrong, you didn't work through the resistance, you don't know what you're doing.
Mhm.
That's only for you to know. And so this is what the conversation is here for, is to let yourself reflect and entertain. Is the resistance stopping you for good, or is the resistance there as a way to rewire you for change?
So I invite you, if you know what program Leah is talking about, the Dr. Joe Dispenza, or the show Rewired. There's a whole bunch of um, awesome life coaches out there, or awesome people that tell you how to do it, like Abraham Hicks, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I could list them all, or I can't list them all. There's so many good ones. But the thing about that they don't do is they don't tell you how. So we're not going to tell you how either, but we're going to tell you that we, through being you, the program that we created from creating you, does that. It does do that with you, alongside you, holding your hand through how to rewire your brain, how to become the better you, the best version of yourself. We have a 3-day, a 3-week, and a 3-month, all different systems. So you know where we are. Obviously, you're watching us on here. You can direct message us, or we are at creating you with a
The letter
U
U.
in the universe at gmail.com. Reach out for information on our packages and how we can help you become the best version of yourself by being you in the universe.
And keep that in mind when it comes to investments. If you choose something, you're co creating a reality that will deliver the means to the ends. So, if working with a coach like Sandra and I with a metaphysical twist is in your cards, trust that, follow it, do what you need to do to get here.
And that's all. Unless the universe is going to magically start this as soon as we press this, we'll see. We sat here for a minute last time. Are they going to press play again? No. I love the
And
universe.
and instead of resisting and stopping, we just went for it.
Went for it.
Okay, guys, until next time,
Yeah. Be blessed.
be blessed.